الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah we'll continue with the fiqh from the book of Akhsar Al-Mokhtasarat, and we stopped at فصل والغصب كبيرة. والغصب كبيرة, chapter of Al-Ghasb. And before we continue, I just wanted to mention, inshallah, the schedule is going to be some change in the schedule, and it's going to be sent, inshallah, as a message for everyone. So that people, inshallah, will give more effort to the Arabic. So we'll have, inshallah, the days of the Arabic course are the only days where we have classes, inshallah, for the time being, till the end of August, inshallah. So Saturday and Monday and Wednesday and Thursday. Right? This is where we have the Arabic. Saturday and Monday we'll have after Maghrib fiqh. And Wednesday and Thursday after Maghrib we'll have Aqidah. And that's it. So the rest of the days, Friday we have our own lectures, a weekly lecture. So what is left is Sunday and Tuesday. Okay, inshallah. So, but inshallah we'll have a message, inshallah, to make things. But this is so that inshallah when we give more homeworks, inshallah, everybody will be with us, inshallah. طيب. So, and inshallah also with the mu'amalat, with the chapter or with the chapters of al-mu'amalat, the transactions. I know there's so many masail and it might be confusing and difficult, but inshallah we'll review it later, inshallah. So here he says, if you follow inshallah with the book, he says فصل, chapter, والغصب كبيرة. والغصب كبيرة. The word al-ghasb is when someone sees something with force, take something unlawful from someone else, whether it's, you call it stealing, or there's a terminology for it. I forgot what they say in English. Usurping. Usurping. So, and there is, when it comes to the definition of it, as it will come, the different masail to it, here mainly is with regards to al-daman, what is guaranteed to be returned as a result of taking something unlawfully, right? So the word, first of all, the word al-ghasb is to take something that is not the right for you to take. Usually it's used as a result of al-qahr, seizing something, having power, like armed robbery, or not necessarily armed robbery, but taking something without the right to do so, taking someone's house and living in it. You know, if there's no state of law or something like this, and someone with guns or power or whatever, he comes and takes someone else, kick him out, and he sits and he lives in his house, or takes someone's land, or takes an individual. You know, these are things can happen. Taking an individual, kidnapping someone, right, and having that someone to be there for years to work for him, you know, just without any money or anything, just, you know, seizing someone, if it's correct to say. So whether it's an individual or a piece of land or an item, taking someone's animal, someone's car, you know, things like this. So it involves many things, theft, stealing. But then what is meant here is not, we're not in the chapter of al-jinayat or the punishment, the legal punishment as a result of that. This is something, this is a different chapter. But here is with regards to what is the consequences money-wise, the financial consequences of al-ghasb, which always the subject of al-daman. Remember the word al-daman? Al-daman is not, it's guarantee, but what does it mean? If anyone wants to remind us of what al-daman means. When you have daman upon something, that means you guarantee to give back whether the same thing or the value of it, right? So for example, if I, in the chapter of Al-Ariya, in the chapter of borrowing something, if I borrowed a book from you and I ruined the book, like the book is not valid anymore, it's burned or something like this. So what am I supposed to do? Am I obligated to give you back the like of the book or its value, or nothing for you? Here in this case, I'm damin, I mean, I guarantee that I have to return it back. Either the same thing, or if it's ruined, then the like of it, if there's like of it, with the same version, with the same publishing and everything, or the value of it. So we're not talking about the criminal act or the act of evil, because people might read this or listen to this. So there's nothing for that person if it's not something to be returned financially. No, he can be punished with the legal system. That's something else. But we're talking about the financial responsibilities as a result of taking something from someone unlawfully. And there's so many different cases and so many different masail, and whether it's by force or even a person doesn't know. You know, it can happen that you, as it's going to be mentioned in some of the masail here, you, again, in places where there's not might be a strong authority, someone purchased a car, you know, which is might happen here. Someone purchased a car, he thinks that it's lawful and everything is fine. He doesn't know that the car is stolen. So then he discovered later on that the car is stolen, belonged to someone else. So who bears the responsibility of this? Again, besides the criminal act. So money-wise, who's the domain belongs to? Who guarantees to pay who what? So all of this is in the subject of al-ghasb. So first of all, he says al-ghasbu kabira. To take something from someone unlawfully, this is kabira. This is one of the major sins, of course, and this is haram with the consensus according to the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And there are many hadith in this subject, even if it's the smallest thing ever. And as the Prophet ﷺ, when he warned people from taking something from someone, you know, without the right to do so, a man asked the Prophet ﷺ, وَلَوْ قَضِيبًا مِنْ أَرَقٍ, even if it's a siwak. He says, even if it's a siwak, you know, whether it's something small or big, it is not permissible for someone to take something from someone without the right to do so. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, من ظلم شبرا من الأرض طوقه الله يوم القيامة من سبع أراضين. Whoever takes one handspan of a land of someone, just small portion, one handspan, doesn't matter that person has millions of acres, it doesn't matter. One handspan, that smallest amount of land that he takes it from someone, that person, he will be tied to it to 7 earths as a punishment for him in the day of judgment. So, and the meaning of that is that he اغتصب, that means he took it without the right to do so. So he says here, وَالْغَصْبُ كَبِيرٌ. The evidences of that are many hadith, and حجة الوداع, the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام said, كل المسلم على المسلم حرام دمه وماله وعرضه. His blood, his wealth, and his عرض, his honor and dignity. Then we get to some of the masail here. فمن غصب كلبا يقتنى أو خمر ذمي محترمة ردهما لا جلد ميتة. So now this is the first mas'al. And remind you again, this is with regards to the financial responsibilities as a result of al-ghasb, not as a criminal act. Clear? You understand what that means? So it's not going to say what's the punishment for that person. We're not talking about punishments or the legal punishment for the person that takes something without the right to do it. It's about the money, the value of it, how he's gonna, you know, what's to be done to that person to make sure that whatever he اغتصب, whatever he took without the right to do so, it's to be returned, the value of it to be returned, what is to be returned in this subject, in this matter, because this is again in the chapters of transactions. So he says here, فَمَنْ غَصَبَ, this is the mas'ala. Whoever غصب, so now we know the word غصب. So غصب, that means he took it without the right to do so, and always attached to it with force, but it doesn't have to be. But anyway, so, and he took it, of course, ظلما, with in an unjust way. Whoever, فَمَنْ غَصَبَ, whoever takes كلبا, a dog. And كلبا tanween here without an alif and lam. That means what? A dog, any dog. And why mentioning dog specifically? So فَمَنْ غَصَبَ كلبا يُقْتَنَى. كلبا يُقْتَنَى. As we agree, the fuqaha, they're very precise in their words. يُقْتَنَى, al-qunya, is when someone owns something. We talked about the dogs before. It's not permissible to buy and sell dogs, right? This is not something respected in the deen of Allah to buy and sell. But it's permissible to own a dog if you need to own a dog. So is it permissible for someone to own a dog? Yes, if he needs it. Not yes, and that's it. Right? Animals, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created them, leave them alone. Right? So let them live their life. But it is not part of your property or you buy. This is not something that Allah created for people to buy and sell and make money from. It's haram in the deen of Islam. And it's not permissible to own a dog without purchasing it unless you need it. You need it for kalb sayd, for example, for hunting or for al-hirasa or security, as the ulama, they said it's part of this because of kalb sayd, the mashia, the cattle and things like this, they need a dog to guard them from the wolves and things like this. So if it's for the protection of animals, it's valid. So they say also for the protection of the human beings, it's valid. It's valid to have a dog for protection. That's why he says kalban yuqtana, a dog that is needed for a person that he has the a lawful ownership of the dog. So someone stole that dog. Someone took the dog from someone that is halal for him to have a dog, right? Because if a dog, imagine dogs, and even in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the dogs they used to enter the masjid and walk in the masjid and leave, and there's no najasa involved in this. You know, the najasa of the dog is in the saliva, yes, but the dogs, as it's mentioned, some people they use these hadiths to show that it's permissible for people to have dogs in their homes. No, it's just dogs that are walking around with people, right? This is how the norm is. So they might enter the masjid and leave the masjid, things like this. So here, the mas'ala here, فَمَنْ غَصَبَ كَلْبًا يُقْتَنَى. Someone took a dog from someone, كلب ماشية, for the cat or so, or خمر ذمي. Khamr is intoxications, wine, alcohol, of a dhimmi. A dhimmi is those who have a legal contract with the rulers. They are from the people of the book, the Jews and the Christians. So they are from Ahl Dhimma. So for them, in a Muslim land, under the Muslim rule, they can have alcohol and they can drink. And they can even make alcohol. But as long as it's not publicly done. So they have it in their homes, right? So they deal with it to one another. This is legal for them to do so, and it's not permissible, for example, to the force in the Muslim ruling countries is to confiscate and to go to their homes and they find this is not permissible because it's permissible to them, because it's permissible to them. So khamr dhimmi, if it's a khamr of a Muslim, no. But if it's for the dhimmi, from a person, a Jew or Christian, that he has alcohol in his house, muhtarama. Muhtarama, the word muhtarama, that means respected. What that means is, for, again, according to, if it's under the Muslim rule, if he has it in his home, this is muhtarama. That means it's to be, not necessarily the word respected, but that means he has an ownership of it. It is not permissible for anyone to go into his home and to take the alcohol and break it. This is not permissible. This is his home. This is his property. But if he takes it outside and publicly drinking, this is what is not permissible. Right? So that's why the word muhtarama, khamr dhimmi. So the khamr of the dhimmi, the wine of the dhimmi, the Jew or the Christian, and he has it in a place where he's not doing this publicly. He has it in his home and things like this. Someone stole it. Someone entered his house and he stole the khamr. What is the ruling? رَدَّهُمَا. He has to return it back. He has to return the dog and he has to return the alcohol. And why these two specifically? Because since the ruling of the money of the dog is not, there's no value to it, it's not to be bought and sold, but in this case it has to be returned. So if this is the case, then you can then imagine what is other than what is for the things that have value and it's permissible to buy and sell, then the matter is even much stronger. Right? So the reason why he mentioned this mas'ala here is these things are not permissible for people to buy and sell. So imagine or even things are not considered to have a value in the Shara. These things has no value in the deen of Islam. A dog has a value meaning money-wise? No, it does not have a value money-wise. Right? It's not to be bought or sold. So why they mentioned it here? Because of this. If it doesn't have a value, still you have to return it back. Not to say it doesn't have a value in the deen of Islam. He took the dog and he's not going to return it. Or khamr, a person, a thief took the khamr muhtarama in the house of someone, in the private house of a someone, and he's a Jew or a Christian, he would say, well, it's khamr, it's haram. I broke it, he did whatever he did to it. He is not entitled to return it back. No, he's entitled to return it back because it's was in these types of conditions. Clear? So, لا جلد ميتة, but not the jild or the skin of a meita. And the meita is the dead animal. The skin of a dead animal then does not apply, the ruling does not apply here for this, according to the madhab here. Which means if someone steals the skin of a dead animal, it wasn't slaughtered in a halal way. So, someone has a meita, someone in his land, a sheep died like that, just died. So it's not permissible to eat. And someone passing by, and that sheep belongs to that individual, to another individual. So he skinned the sheep and he leaves. Is it permissible for him to do so? Does he have to return it back or not? He says, jild al-mayta, no. According to here, jild al-mayta, not to be returned. He doesn't have the legal requirements that he return it. He can be punished. That's a different, again, subject. He's punished because he stole something, right? But does he have a financial responsibility to return it back? According to this, no, because it's mayta, it's impure, it's najas. And the najasa here, there's no even validity to own it. But this is one opinion. The other opinion, which is well established even according to the rules and the contemporary matters, and it's another opinion even in the madhab, that it's still to be applied, the same ruling for the dog and the khamr of a dhimmi. Why? Because people might use it for something halal. A person might take the skin of the dead animal if he tan it, right, and it becomes pure according to some of the opinions. Then in that case, it's halal for him. So it's not going to continue to be impure. And this is what al-amal or the rulings is been upon that, which is jild al-mayta is also something that is to be respected and not to be taken without the right to do so. But just write this on the side. But this is a mas'ala, jild al-mayta. Is it for al-ghasb? Is it guaranteed to be returned or not? This is what is mentioned here. Clear so far? Then he says, so here in this mas'ala, raddahuma, that means he has to return it back. That means if he still have it. If he still have whatever he took. But then he says, وَإِتْلَافُ الثَّلَاثَةِ هَدَرٌ. وَإِتْلَافُ الثَّلَاثَةِ. Itlaf, التلف is when something is ruined. Something does not exist anymore. So he took a dog, he took khamr, he took a jild mayta, and he ruined it. It's not there anymore. So it's hadar. That means what? That means there's no value to be returned because it's gone. So he's not to be commanded to give the price of the dog or what the dog's value is. He's not obliged to bring a like of the dog or to bring another bottles of wine or the price of it, right? Or a dead skin. That means for the thief, he's to be punished. Yes, this is in the case he ruined it. He drank the alcohol, he killed the dog, right? The jild al-mayta, he melted, burned it, for use it for whatever. So it's not there anymore. So he's not to be commanded to bring money-wise to return to these people because these three things of no value. The Shara does not give it value. There's no value to it. But does that mean that he's not punished? He's to be punished. And the ruler will punish him, or the judge will punish him. But as far as the money situation here, he has no domain in this case. Clear? So that's what it means, وَإِتْلَافُ الثَّلَاثَةِ هَدَرٌ, and that's why I mentioned these three examples here. Because if these things has no value in the Shara. The Shara does not give value to these things. Other than these three things, if it's ruined as it's going to come, then he has to return the like of it. If it's mithli, or if it's mutaqawwam, he returns the qima or the value. Remember the mithli and the mutaqawwam. If something mithli, there's a like of it. What is the mithli? If you remember, what are the things that there's like of it in the shara. To al-makil wal-mawzoon, anything that is weight and everything that is measured by volume. So if a person stole 10 pounds of dates, a specific type, right? Then he is to return the same type of dates because it's something that can be weight, right? Or something that is measured by volume. So this is mithli, to bring the like of it. And mutaqawwam is the one, or even the same thing doesn't have to be makil and mawzoon. Like someone stole a specific, a brand new car, for example. There has to be something exactly the same. But usually in the fiqh here, the primitive case here of the mas'ala is the mawzoon and makil. Something that is weight with measured with weight or volume. Al-mutaqawwam from al-qima, from we took that in many chapters before, is something that is not weight or not measured by weight or volume, but something then you would give the value of it. So someone took something and he broke it, but it's not mithli, uh, a bag or a watch or something like this, right? So you cannot bring the exact same one, right? But rather you would give the price of it or the value of it. Even if a person would say, but the watches are made exactly the same, but it's used, and it's very difficult to bring exactly the same, style and the same thing with the same status of it, whether it's how it's used and things like this. But that also, if it's judged, that's fine. But it's usually would give the value of whatever he ruined, if it's other than these three things. He says, وَإِتْلَافُ الثَّلَاثَةِ هَدَرْ وَإِتْلَافُ الثَّلَاثَةِ هَدَرْ. So you understand the word hadar means? Al-hadr is when something has no value, is something is gone and is ruined. Uh, is not respected. Something that is not respected. Clear? طيب he says وإن استولى على حر مسلم لم يضمنه بل ثياب صغير وحليه. Again, this is going back to some of the masail that used to be in hundreds of years back. But the principles of it is valid, and we this is what we need to be upon, inshallah. So in istawla, al-istila is like al-ghasb, when someone takes something, takes over, sees something. But here he took a hurr Muslim, a free man. He took a man, he kidnapped, basically, seized someone, took someone. And he says, لم يضمنه. لم يضمنه, that means he does not guarantee that individual. Why? Because he's hur, he's a free man. So he owns it. He's not owned by someone else. So he has no guarantee whatsoever, unless, as it will come, unless he did something to him. He harmed him or something like this, or he killed him, or he was responsible for him to lose his life. Then there's diya, the blood money is to be paid. So money-wise situations. But here, لم يضمنه, he does not guarantee because he's a free man, right? There's no money responsibility that he has to give. He's to be punished and all of that, but there's no money responsibility. بل ثياب صغير وحليه. But rather, he has to give back the value of the clothing of a youngster and his jewelry. If he took a child unlawfully, kidnapped a child, for example, yeah, he's going to be ruined for the rest of his life, no problem, yes. But the money-wise, the clothing of the child is to be returned because the child is not a free man. He's not someone that would say yes or no willingly. He might even, without being forced to do anything, he might not know what is benefiting for himself. So that's why anything that happens or lost is guaranteed. So as a practical example, if someone adult and is a free man is taken away and his clothes get torn, for example, right? If it's torn by the individual that took him, yes, he guaranteed to bring the like of it, right? He has to bring the like of it plus to be punished. But if it happened that it torn by itself, right, there's no domain, there's no guarantee because he did not do it for him, but rather it happened as a normal way. But for the child, no. Whether it happened by itself or by the action of the one that took him forcefully, he has to guarantee to bring the like of what that was upon the child. Right? So again, this is financial responsibilities that is upon the person. So then he says, وإن استعمله كرها وإن استعمله كرها أو حبسه فعليه أجرته كقن. If he took someone, kidnapped someone, forced him to work for him, وإن استعمله, he used him. He took someone walking in the street, and forced him to work for him for a day. You do these jobs for me. Karhan, that means he's unwilling. He's not doing that willingly, doing it. Or أو حبسه, or he imprisoned him. He took someone and imprisoned him. Do I need to repeat again that he's to be punished and everything? This is an obvious thing, right? فعليه أجرته. He has to pay him later on when he's freed. What's upon that ghasib? What's upon this kidnapper or the evildoer? With addition to the punishment that he will be punished by the government, he has to give the wages, the ujra of that person that he imprisoned or he used them to work. كقن, like a slave person. So, for example, if someone, as it will be mentioned, if someone took a medical doctor, for example, you know, forced him to come to his place to be for his mother to be under his care, right? By gunpoint, right? He got the medical doctor. You stay here for a month to take care of my mother. Something like this. No law in the land, so he did that. So this doctor is imprisoned, basically, to enforced to work unwillingly. So after justice is being served, that ghasib or that robber or whatever, he has to pay the wages of that medical doctor the entire month. What he would get if he would be working in the same hours, in the same environment? That is to be judged by the judge. And the ulama, they say not just even during the daytime, day and night, because he's imprisoned the entire period. So if his salary, for example, for a month is $1 million, you get 2 million or 3 million or whatever, because it's 24 hours whether he's working or not. So the mas'ala here, وَإِنْ اسْتَعْمَلَهُ كَرْهًا أَوْ حَبَسَهُ. So he used them. Karhan, that means he's forced or unwilling. أو حبسه, or he imprisoned him. فعليه أجرته. I'm not sure what the laws, which is a very severe crime, of course, if someone imprisons someone, right? The punishment is a severe punishment, right? But what are the money punishment as a result of that? This is here what is meant here to understand is the money thing. فعليه أجرته. His ujra, the ijara, he is to be given his wages كقن, as the same case with a slave. If he stole a slave from someone, right, and he returns it, when it's returned, he is to give the value of that work for a few days, whatever he took him for. He says ويلزمه رد مغصوب بزيادته. So is it clear so far? طيب. ويلزمه, الإلزام is when someone is forced. It's upon the person. رد مغصوب. رد is to return. مغصوب is the item that is being stolen or seized. So Al-Ghasb is what's the word again? User, right? That's Al-Ghasb. The doer of it is Al-Ghasb, right? And Al-Maghsub is the item that is being stolen or seized or taken. So he has to return it. If he stole something, he has to return it بزيادته, with whatever increase happened to it. If he stole a goat, and after a month or two or whatever, it become 5 goats, give birth and everything, he has to return it and the offsprings of the goat. Or if he took money, and it will come inshallah, and there's details to this, and there's a rules that governs this. Any ziyada, any increase to the maghsub, any increase to what has been seized, goes back to the owner. And any naqs, the opposite of increase is what? Any decrease in the value, any decrease in whatever he stole is upon the one that stole it, al-ghasib, and he has to give the value of the decrease. So here, if it's an increase, if he stole $1,000 and he took this $1,000 and he invested and the 1,000 becomes million, he has to return the million to the owner, not just the 1,000, right? And if there is no law to govern this, he is responsible to make sure that he returns back. Someone took money that does not belong to him, right? And he invested this money and he made a fortune as a result of it. And now he repented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants to pay back the money that he stole. He only gives the 1,000 back? No, the entire fortune that he made. Right. And if he takes it, the decrease will come. If he takes it and he lost it, he has to give it back. Still. So any increase, he has to return it and the increase because he has no right whatsoever. So, and this is a very clear principle in the deen of Allah. So, وَيَلْزَمُهُ رَدُّ مَغْصُوبٍ بِزِيَادَتِهِ. He has to return the مغصوب, what is being seized, بزيادته, with the increase of it. وإن نقص لغير تغير سعر فعليه أرشه. وإن نقص لغير تغير سعر. Here, وإن نقص. نقص is the opposite of الزيادة. The opposite of increase is النقص. النقص, decrease. So if that مغصوب, what is the نقص? المغصوب. المغصوب is what? The item that he took unlawfully. If it decreased, the value of it decreased. لغير تغير سعر. Not that the price of it decreased. No, he did something to it and as a result of that it decreased. فعليه أرشه. Upon him is the arsh. Remember the word arsh? Arsh is what? The original, the differences in price. So if you took something that was worth 1,000, and then when he returned it back, whether they arrest him and they turn it back, or he repented to Allah and he returned it back, but that thing that was worth 1,000 becomes it's worth 500 now. So you have to return it back and 500. So this is the arsh, if it decreased. But he says here, لغير تغير سعر, unless the price of it decreased. But this is a difference of opinion. If the price of it decreased, does he return it without the differences? No, he still have to pay the difference, even if the price decreased, right? But this is a thing on the side. So, ويلزمه رد مغصوب بزيادته. We need to make sure that we understand every word, inshallah. وإن نقص لغير تغير سعر فعليه أرشه. فعليه أرشه. So, is it clear? طيب, and then he says وإن بنى أو غرس لزمه قلع وأرش نقص وتسوية أرض والأجرة. Now a different مسألة. وإن بنى, if who's بنى means built. If he built, who is he here? Refers to the Ghasb, to the evildoer, to the thief. So if he took a land and he built on it, he built a building on the land that he took, he seized the land from someone unlawfully and he built on it. أو غرس, planted trees in it. It's not his land. لزمه, اللزوم here, that means he's obliged, it's upon him. قلع, he has to uproot it. If it's a tree, he has to uproot it. Of course, I mean, if the owner says leave it, then to leave it. Does the owner has to pay for it? No. الزيادة, take it as a rule. Any increase is for the owner. But the owner has the right to say, to uproot it. And he has to uproot it. And anything, any price that comes as a result of that is upon the one that stole the land. So, لزمه, then it's upon him. It's not like an optional thing for him if the owner insists. قلع وأرش نقص. أرش نقص, if there's a depreciation in the value, because the land before he planted the trees in it, for example, it was worth a certain amount of money. After he planted the trees, then the value of it dropped, for example. Then he has to pay the differences in price. Or the opposite. وأرش نقص. Al-arsh again is the difference in prices between when he took it versus when he returned it. And naqs is the decrease. وتسوية أرض is also upon the ghasib, that he has to level the land. So the owner says destroy the building. then he has to destroy the building and level the land and to bring it back the way it's in its original form. والأجرة, and the wages and the cost that would be for him to level the land and to take the plants and to like this, right? And of course, if the owner says leave the land, does then the ghasib, the thief, would say, well, you need to give me the price of the money that I built. I built a building for you in this land. No, he does not pay a penny for it, right? So if someone stole a land and he built a mansion on it, right? And then the land is to be returned back to the owner. Does he pay for the mansion? No, he takes it without paying anything. So as ziyada as the rule is for the original owner. But he has the right to say destroy it. Unless some of the ulama they mentioned, unless he just wants to destroy it to harm the thief, then he doesn't. Then the judge might force him not to do so. You understand what I'm saying? But he might say, I don't want it to be like this. I intended something else for the land. So he has the right, of course. But if it becomes clear that he just want to do it as a way of harming the other, not for any benefit for his own self, then it's to be treated differently. Is it clear? طيب والأجرة. So all these things are upon the al-ghasib. What do you call the ghasib? Word thief is not really accurate. Usurper? The usurper. Okay. So the ghasib, he responsible for all these prices, for all these amount of money. Then, is it clear with this mas'ala? The next one. It all falls into the same principles, right? So then he says, وَلَوْ غَصَبَ مَا اتَّجَرَ أَوْ صَادَ بِهِ. So this is a mas'ala. غصب, he surfaced, he stole ما اتَّجَرَ. اتَّجَرَ from التجارة. He took something and he used it for tijara, for trade, right? He took a car and he sold it. He took something to use it for tijara. Whatever, anything that can be used, that he used it to make money from it. أو صاد به. He took a gun to hunt animals, right? Or صاد به. So he used the tool for something to bring money to him. He says, فَمَهْمَا حَصَلَ بِذَلِكَ فَلِمَالِكِ. Anything that he took and he earned as a result of that tool or as a result of that thing that he took without the right to take, anything that comes as a result of that is to the owner, right? So if he took what people would use, a machine. If he took a machine, right, from someone, stole a machine that makes shoes, for example, or fixes cars or fix tires, for example. He stole it and he fixed cars and he made so much money from it, right? All of that belongs to the owner. He's not just to return the machine and the money that is made, the animals that he captured, whatever there is. Some and that these types of things also it depends on the rule and the judge and so on. Some, just to mention that on the side, they said in that case, what's for the owner is the amount of the rent that is known by the norm of using these things if it's to be rented, right? So if people usually would rent a truck to move things, like for example, and someone stole it, so how many days he took it, so then he is entitled to the amount of the rent of this truck, for example. Versus the other ruling here, anything that he made money as a result of it, because it might be that he took more or less, whatever, then it goes back to the owner. So it goes back to the principle, any increase is for the owner. Because there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, ليس لعرق ظالم حق. There's no عرق. Al-irq is from the plants and the trees. The irq is for the palm trees. If it's zalim, if it's wrongdoing, he has no rights whatsoever. No rights for the zalim. The zalim, if he's a wrongdoer, he committed transgression, he has no rights. Everything that he does as a result of that specific thing that he took, all belongs to the original owner. No benefit for him whatsoever. Clear? He says, فَمَهْمَا حَصَلَ بِذَلِكَ فَلِمَالِكِ وَمَا حَصَدَ بِهِ فَعَلَيْهِ أُجْرَتُهُ. And whatever حَصَدَ بِهِ. So here اتجر أو صاد, trade or hunted. But ما حصد به, if he harvest a land by something that he stole, فعليه أجرته, then in this case he is to give the ujra, the amount of the rent, for example, or what would be the amount that they would rent this tool from, he would give it to the owner. So he harvested a land with a tractor, or something like or a machine, right? So goes to the owner all of the things that he harvested? No, he used it. He made money by taking money from the owner of another land that he would harvest the land for him. He stole that truck or the tractor, and he did that work for him. So when it's there returned to the original owner, the original owner takes from that thief is the rent, is what is equal to if this tractor is rented out. Plus he is to be punished, of course. وما حصد به فعليه أجرته. Clear? طيب, and he says وإن خلطه, the next مسألة we'll stop here إن شاء الله. وإن خلطه بما لا يتميز. We want to make sure that it's not just that we know the مسائل. If we can, inshallah ta'ala, also the words. So that's why we don't have to rush, inshallah. وإن خلطه. وإن, that means if. This is the if statement. Most of the مسائل you would find if. But if, some of the times of the books of fiqh, you would have if statements that it's very difficult to happen. And that's why, we, in general, we should only be, recognizing the things that are feasible to happen. But this is, وَإِنْ خَلَطَهُ, if he mixed it. Who's the one that al-khalt is to mix something. Al-ikhtilat is free mixing. The word al-ikhtilat between men and women, they call it ikhtilat. So خَلَطَهُ, that means he mixed. Who mixed? The thief mixed what? Mixed al-maghsub, mixed the item. So it doesn't have to be mentioned all of this because it's already obvious, right? وَإِنْ خَلَطَهُ, if he mixed whatever he took, بِمَا لَا يَتَمَيَّز, with something that is not يتميز. يتميز with something that can never be separated from. So he stole oil and he mixed it with his oil. He stole oil, it's clear, right? Or stole grains, right? And he mixed it with his grains. He has grains, but he took grains of someone else, and it's all mixed with his. And you cannot separate both. You cannot separate. If it's something that can be separated, then it has to be separated. But if it's not, that's why وَإِنْ خَلَطَهُ بِمَا لَا يَتَمَيَّز, this masala here, al-khalt here, the mixing is with something that can never be يتميز, cannot be distinguished. As the ayah وَامْتَازُوا الْيَوْمَ أَيُّهَا الْمُجْرِمُونَ, which means separate, O mujrimun, O criminals, on that day. They are to be separated from the believers. So بما لا يتميز, right? وإن خلطه بما لا يتميز أو صبغ الثوب, or he dyed the cloth or the garment. He took the garment that was white, he dyed it red. You cannot take the dye out. It's going to stay red. So then how can the owner gets his original item? He says فهما شريكان بقدر ملكيهما. They are, this is the dual tense, فهما شريكان partners, بقدر ملكيهما, according to the ownership of both of them. So if the thief he mixed his oil with the oil that he took from someone else, his oil to the other one is 1 to 3. So then there are partners in the whole thing. So they will sell the whole thing and each one will get their share. So this is in the case of something that can never be separated. So they become partners according to the ratio of ownership. Is that clear? But here in this case, not everything will return to the owner because it's not all belong to him. Right? He did not get, the thief, he did not earn his part from the item that he stole. He already had something and he mixed it with whatever he stole. So that's different. But if he took the oil from someone and he increased it by selling part of it and gaining and things like this, all of that has to return to the owner. And then وَإِن نَقَصَتِ الْقِيمَةُ ضَمِن. And if the qima is the value, naqasat is depreciated, decreased, damin, that means the daman is upon him, the guarantee is upon him to return back the original value. And it's qima. So he doesn't have to return the like of it, the value of it. Now, تغير السعر is the price, تغير is the change. So here وإن نقص, so the value decreased, but not because the price is changed. If the price changed according to this, he doesn't have to return the arsh or the differences in price. But if the decrease happened as a result of anything else, the animal got weaker, less in weight, more in weight, and it's decreased as value, you know. So other than the fact that the price changed. Please. Let's read it, inshallah, together. And while we're reading it, make sure that you understand every word of it, inshallah. You ready, inshallah? طيب والغصب كبيرة فمن غصب كلبا يقتنى. فمن غصب كلبا يقتنى أو خمر ذمي محترمة. أو خمر ذمي محترمة ردهما لا جلد ميتة وإتلاف الثلاثة هدر وإن استولى على حر مسلم لم يضمنه بل ثياب صغير وحليه وإن استعمله كرها أو حبسه فعليه أجرته كقن ويلزمه رد مغصوب بزيادته وإن نقص لغير تغير سعر فعليه أرشه وإن بنى أو غرس لزمه قلع وأرش نقص وتسوية أرض والأجرة ولو غصب ما اتجر أو صاد به فمهما حصل بذلك فلمالكه وما حصد به فعليه أجرته وإن خلطه بما لا يتميز أو صبغ الثوب فهما شريكان بقدر ملكيهما وإن نقصت القيمة ضمن. ذكري الإمام ضامن. Yes, الإمام ضامن. What is the meaning of الإمام ضامن? Imam of the Salah is ضامن. Yes. Everything is upon him. So if the ma'mum makes a mistake, it's upon the imam, not upon the ma'mum. So there's no mistakes for the ma'mum. Sahw. of the ma'mum if the ma'mum is in the third rak'ah. Am I in the third or the fourth? Al-imam ضامن. Don't worry. The imam, if you're praying Salatul Jama'ah, the imam is the one that takes the burden of it. If it's, of course, there's no sin, but that means there's nothing on upon the ma'mum. The imam ضامن. Right. يصلون أئمتكم يصلون لكم ولهم. They pray for you. فإن أصابوا فلكم ولهم. Your imam in the salah. If they do it right, for you and for them. وإن أخطأوا فلكم وعلي. If they make a mistake, it's for you and against them, not against you. It's only against them. So the ma'mum gets two things, but the imam, he is responsible for his mistakes now. طيب, any questions? The words are clear? I know it sounds difficult, but again, as far as the masail, we understand the masail in English, right? And just the words to know it is good, inshallah. Hadith number 97. Hadith 97. You ready, inshallah? Hadith 97. This is about making salah with atmi'nan. One of the pillars of the salah is to make it atmi'nan. That means the person is not in haste. He says, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا قمت إلى الصلاة فأسبغ الوضوء ثم استقبل القبلة ثم استقبل القبلة فكبر ثم اقرأ ما تيسر معك من القرآن ثم اركع حتى تطمئن ثم ارفع حتى تعتدل قائما ثم اسجد حتى تطمئن ساجدا ثم ارفع حتى تطمئن جالسا ثم اسجد حتى تطمئن ساجدا ثم افعل ذلك في صلاتك كلها. يقول أخرجه السبعة واللفظ للبخاري. So this hadith, Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام teaching the one that doesn't know how to make the salah. So he's saying that إذا قمت إلى الصلاة, if you go to the salah, if you stand up, if you stood up for the salah, فأسبغ الوضوء, make a perfect wudu. And الإسباغ, there are two levels of it. There is الإسباغ الواجب, the obligatory إسباغ is to make sure that the wudu is valid. And the recommended isbagh is to go more beyond what is the obligation, to increase the place where you wash, like in the arms and the legs and the face. So فأسبغ الوضوء, make a perfect wudu. ثم استقبل القبلة, then face the qibla, and these are all conditions for the salah. فكبر, that means make takbir, say Allahu Akbar. ثم اقرأ ما تيسر معك من القرآن, then read what has been made easy for you, what you have from the Quran. Of course, Surah Al-Fatiha is a pillar, so it's not to be understood from this that any Quran is to be recited. Surah Al-Fatiha has to be recited. In nafil salah and obligatory salah, it's a pillar. If a person doesn't recite anything else other than Surah Al-Fatiha, the salah is valid, but it's recommended to add more. ثم اركع, then make ركوع. اركع is a command. ثم اركع حتى تطمئن راكعا. This is why the hadith is here. حتى till تطمئن راكعا. Till you are settled in the ركوع. تطمئن راكعا. راكعا being in ركوع. الاطمئنان is when a person is in state of tranquility, is not moving, is settled. So that means every joint stopped moving. So now when you see that person, you look at him, that person is in state of ruku'. Not that a person is doing this. Right? If you see someone doing this, you did not see someone making ruku'. You saw someone bowed down, not making ruku'. Ruku' is when someone makes ruku' and he stays in the ruku'. So this is حتى تطمئن راكع. There's a level which is an obligation. And the obligation of it, when the ulama, they say till every mifsal, every joint stopped moving, is just a way to describe that this position is called ruku'. So that means you're not walking, you're not jumping, you're not standing. You are in ruku' and you stay there. So that's why the ruku' is one thing. What to say in the ruku' is something else, which is also a part of the salah. But الركوع is a pillar. حتى تطمئن راكع. ثم ارفع حتى تعتدل قائما. Then ثم ارفع, elevate yourself, stand up. حتى تعتدل, till you are upright. قائما, standing, and تعتدل. So قائما is standing. تعتدل قائما, that means till you completely stand. And also there's no movement and every joint stopped moving. Not that you did this and then you go down. It doesn't count. The salah is not valid. حتى تعتدل قائما. ثم اسجد, then make sujood. حتى تطمئن ساجدة, then make sujood till you تطمئن ساجدة. You have اطمئنان, tranquility, you have peace. You stop moving in your sujood. ثم ارفع, then get yourself up. حتى تطمئن جالسا, till you sit in a calm way. The same way the word تطمئن جالسا. ثم اسجد, then make another sujood. حتى تطمئن ساجدة, till you have طمأنينة, tranquility in the sujood. ثم افعل ذلك في صلاتك كلها. Then do so in all of your salah. So this is what the Prophet ﷺ, he said to the man that he came and he prayed and he went to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said to him, ارجع فصلي فإنك لم تصلي. Go make salah because you did not make salah. The man went back again, he made salah. He came to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ said to him, ارجع فصلي فإنك لم تصلي. Go back and make salah because you did not make salah. So for the third time, the man, he said, O Messenger of Allah, لا أحسن غيره. I do not know anything better. So teach me. So the Prophet ﷺ taught him. So what was the problem of the salah of this man? Is al-itma'nan. He was not making tuma'nin. So he was not missing ruku' or missing sujood, or as far as what we think of a sujood and ruku'. But in reality, he was not making sujood and he was not making ruku' because he's not making itma'nan. So the point here is al-itma'nan. That one of the pillars, that's why the ulama they mentioned, one of the 14 pillars of the salah is al-itma'nanu fi salah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to observe. So it's easy to memorize, of course, because you know the sentence is repeated over and over again with the movements of the salah. There's questions here. If a child steals, is anyone accountable? What is the case if it's known, and what's the case if it's unknown? This will come also, inshallah. It's included in the chapter. And if the child steals, the parent or the guardian of the child is accountable financially. The child is not accountable legally because he's a child. But financially, the guardian of the child, he's accountable for it to be given. And if you remember, with the daman, unless the adult is the one gave the child something and the child broke it. So who's accountable? Is that adult that gave him. So a child is in the masjid, right? And a brother give the child his phone. You know, you're not the parent. You're just someone in the masjid. You give, and the child took the phone and smashed it against the wall. You go to the parent and ask him, give me a phone like it because your son broke my phone? No. You don't give your phone to a child. So you're the wrongdoer. But if the child goes while you're making salah and he took your phone without you knowing and he smashed it against the wall, then you go after his parents, after his father. But you gave it to him willingly and he's a child. That means you're the one responsible. Okay, so and then if it's known or it's not known, what is the case? If it's known, or what is the case? If it's unknown, till they know, so there's no harm unless they know it. For the one who steals, and by the way, these things doesn't, what they call it, لا تسقط بالتقادم. It does not get overturned after some time. Crimes, if someone is, what they call it in the law, if, they have, for example, 5-year sentence in prison, but he's escaped. and he showed up after 10 years. In some parts of the world and some laws, then it dropped because he passed the period of where he's supposed to be punished. These things doesn't get dropped. It stays forever for the generations to come because this is the rights of an individual has been taken away from him. If people know, of course, right? So if after generations people discovered that someone took someone else's great parents' land or something, they have to return it back. So here the next one, for the one who steals and makes purchases and sells and or gives away the purchases, does the unknown amount money return to the original owner? Uh, if there's a chain one after the other, right? Everything goes back to the owner. And if I understood that correctly, say for example, someone stole an item and he sold it to someone else. He doesn't know that it's stolen, right? So that second person, A stole a piece of jewelry. He sold it to B. B doesn't know that this is stolen. And B sold it to C. And C doesn't know that it's stolen. B is not responsible, but whatever, even if it reaches to Z, that item has to return back to the owner. And each one goes after who? The first one. The thief, everyone should go against him to give them their money. And if they can't, well, that's a sad reality. But it goes back to the owner. Is it clear? Number 3, should all the parts of salah be equal? The sunnah of the Prophet والسلام, that his salah mutaqariba, that means if he makes a long qiyam, standing, he would make a long ruku' and a long sujood. And if it's short, then it's accordingly. And it should be, yes, with this, equal to the best of one's ability intervals, and it should not be one is longer than the other. Some people, they like to make the last sujood longer, this is not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. All the moves in the salah should be to best to one's ability equal, in equal proportions. But not the standing is equal to the ruku' or the sujood. You understand? So it doesn't have to be that if he stood for 5 minutes, you have to make ruku' for 5 minutes. And no, but if it's a long standing, أفضل الصلاة طول القنوت, as the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the best salah is the long standing. But the ruku' is long, but not as long as the qiyam or the standing. When all the joints stop, does that mean a person should stop moving their lips in each position after saying Akhsar? No, it doesn't mean that. And he can, of course, when a person is in ruku' and sujood, his lips is moving, he's making dhikr. So the joints of the body that makes a person in the position of the sujood, makes the person in the position of the ruku' physically. So he's not moving. And again, we don't want to be extreme in this matter, but if a person is making ruku', he makes ruku'. But while he's in ruku', he's moving. For example, I mean, it's wrong, right? But it doesn't invalidate the salah. It's wrong and it takes away from the rewards. But he is in ruku', you understand? Even though he's like slightly moving like this. But what is meant is that and then the joints are not moving, is that he is in ruku', not someone that touches and go back. That means that he did not make the state of ruku'. A ruku' is a physical position that a person has to be in, right? So this has to be there. صلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وصحبه